Hey, and welcome to The Explainer. We're going to dig right into a really fascinating question today. What does true worship actually look like? Right now, in our world? We're going to unpack this by looking at some really ancient ideas about altars and sacrifice, and a kind of idolatry that's so subtle, you might not even realize it's there.
God and Us presents Proclamation to the Nation.
Just think about it for a second. We all sacrifice our time, our energy, our focus, our money. Every single day we're making offerings. So the real question isn't if we sacrifice, but to what? Or, to whom? And that question right there is the key to everything we're about to get into. Okay, so let's dive into this with a story. It's a story that basically just turned all the old rules of worship completely upside down. It all kicks off with a vision given to the Apostle Peter, and this one moment, it really did change everything.
Now just try to put yourself in Peter's shoes. You're hearing this command from heaven. A giant sheet comes down, and it's filled with all these animals that were considered unclean under Jewish law, totally forbidden. And then a voice tells you to just kill and eat. It sounds so strange, right? It's got to be shocking. But there's a hidden layer here, and it unlocks the whole point.
And this is where it gets really interesting. See, when you look at the original Greek language of the text, the word used for kill is theo. But theo doesn't just mean kill. It also means to sacrifice or to make an offering. So you see, this wasn't just about what's for dinner. It was a huge spiritual command about sacrifice itself. So what's the big takeaway here? The vision was a symbol. It was God's way of showing Peter that the ultimate sacrifice of Christ made salvation available to everyone, not just one group of people. It completely tore down the old religious walls. It declared that all people could now be part of God's family. And just like that, the old altar of separation was gone. But here's the thing. With those old physical altars gone, a new and maybe even more sneaky danger popped up. And this is where the Apostle Paul comes in with this powerful warning that, honestly, we really need to listen to today. It builds directly on this new reality.
And Paul does not pull any punches here. He flat out says that it's possible to go through all the motions of sacrifice and worship, but have it all directed to the wrong source entirely. He's saying your worship could literally be feeding something you would never, ever consciously support. That really raises the stakes, doesn't it?
So what in the world does this look like for us? Well, the source material argues that these demons aren't these horned figures, but more like invisible idols that we create. It could be an idolatry of places. When we value a church building more than the community in God's presence. Or it could be an idolatry of objects, when a symbol like a cross becomes more sacred than the truth it's supposed to point to. And maybe the most dangerous of all, the idolatry of people, when we put leaders on a pedestal that only Christ should occupy.
And this idea is captured perfectly by our source, Pastora Sandra Ribeiro. She points out that this ancient problem is absolutely alive and well. We're still building these modern-day golden calves, but a lot of the time they're invisible, just hiding in plain sight as places, objects, or even the people we admire.
Okay, so if the danger is idolizing things made with our hands, what's the solution? Well, we find the answer in this incredibly powerful final sermon from Stephen, one of the very first Christian martyrs, where he explains where God truly lives.
Stephen makes this really radical declaration, and he quotes the ancient prophets to back it up. He's reminding everyone that God has never been confined to a box. No building, it doesn't matter how magnificent it is, can possibly contain the creator of the universe. True worship was never meant to be tied to a physical address. And this right here shows the fundamental shift in worship. The old way was centered on a physical place. It was based on external rituals and laws, and it was primarily for one nation. But the new way? It's internal. It's centered on the heart of the believer. It's based on a spiritual relationship through Christ, and it's open to all people everywhere. So the crucial point here is that the real sanctuary today isn't a building. It's not made of stone. It's the community of believers. According to the New Testament, God's people are the living stones that make up a spiritual temple, and that is where His Spirit has chosen to live and work.
As we start to wrap up, it's so important to understand why this matters so much. This isn't just some interesting theological debate. The source argues that being ignorant of who or what we're truly worshiping has profound, even eternal consequences. And Pastora Ribeiro leaves us with this final, powerful thought. She says, if we think knowledge is costly, just imagine the cost of ignorance. In the spiritual sense, it's something that truly costs our souls. Spiritual ignorance isn't harmless. It can cost us everything.
So we end right where we began, with a question for you to think about. Every choice you make, everything you give your heart and your energy to, it's all a form of worship. It's a sacrifice on an altar. So the real question is, when you look at your life, who or what is really on the throne?